Hello, thanks for joining. This is the Advanced Juggling class. As you can see, we're outside, so you're on a soft floor and you got two bells. I've got a medium-sized multi-purpose weight. This is a 12-kilo bell, and then I have a light play bell. This is my 6-kilo bell. Remember that you want to make sure that you're on a soft surface and that you have shoes on. Shoes are mandatory. If you have a mat, move it out of the way. We're going to use it at the very end, so don't get rid of it altogether. You'll need it. And let's start here on a nice gravel surface. If you have your own music, turn it up, and we'll start with a shoulder warm-up. Windshield wipe your arms across your chest, right arm on top, and then the left arm on top. Big arm swings here, pulling blood to the fingertips. Everything we're doing today is in sets of 10. So let's turn it into a torso rotation. You'll do 10 of them. Your feet pivot, your hips turn, and your arms slap against the sides of your body. After your 10, it'll be a single arm swing, big circles backwards, 10, and then big circles forward, 10. Bend your knees, brace your belly, add a little bounce. And when you're ready, you'll switch to the other arm, 10 circles in one direction, and then 10 circles in the other direction. Hip circles with your hands on your hips, your feet wide. Do circles, 10 of them in one direction, and then you'll change directions and do 10 in the other way. Start small and then gradually get bigger, including your torso. Groin stretch. Separate your feet extra far apart. Pry your thighs open. Small pulses here. Do each leg individually. Squat. 10 squats. Toes grip. Inner arches lift. Your knees can be wide or they can point forward, but your toes and your knees are in the same alignment. Send your hips way back so that they're low in line with the knees. Pivot. Sit low, pivot to the right and pivot to the left, 10 of them. This pivot was covered in the lunge series. There's a beginner, intermediate, and advanced class that goes over the entire pivot sequence. I recommend you taking that before taking this. Windmill. Find your windmill stance. Top hand goes to the sky. Do 10 of them. If you're not familiar with the windmill, I recommend you taking the Windmill series. There's a beginner, intermediate, and advanced class that covers all aspects of the windmill that you will need to know for today. Sprinter step. Facing your bells. Your left leg is, or right leg is forward, left leg back. You're in your sprinter stance start. On your exhale, you step the foot forward and go back to your sprinter stance. If you're not familiar with the sprinter stance, I recommend you taking the Sprinter Clean series. Beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes that cover everything you need to know to execute this, which is mandatory for this class. Go ahead and pivot to the other side. Find your sprinter stance and do 10 in this direction. Your belly is braced. Your lower back is long. Crown of the head grows forward so your eyes look down towards the floor. All that power and drive comes from the forward bent leg. Inner thighs activate to keep you balanced. After your 10, you'll do your windmill on the other side. Remember, your eyes look up the entire time. Your obliques lower and lift you. You shift your weight into your back leg. You want to look at the top hand the entire time. We're covering all of these advanced movements and combining them all for this juggling flow. I'll repeat, it is recommended that you take every class leading up to this before this class. We'll work into our kettlebell warm-up. You'll start with your multi-purpose medium-sized weight. Two-handed swing to start for 30 seconds. Right side clean for 30 seconds. Left side clean for 30 seconds. Press on the right for 30. Press on the left for 30, ending in alternate hand exchange. If you're not familiar with any of these movements, I recommend taking any of the classes before. Starting with your two-handed swing, 30 seconds, go. Your obliques and lats connect and lock your torso together. Can you find weightlessness at the top? This is very important. We cover this in the swing series. The weightlessness is a very integral part of juggling. Clean. Quarter swing to rack, pick an arm, do 10, and then you'll do 10 on the other side. Just like what we learned in the long cycle series, the quarter swing and rack happens close to the groin, belly braced, lats engaged, and vertically, straight up and straight down. When you're ready, switch sides, 10 on the left. This vertical motion of going straight up and straight down during your clean is the same thing that we talk about when finding our hover for juggling. It's the same motion of the bell during the swing, which builds into the snatch. Press, overhead position, and back to rack. Exhale to find your overhead. Exhale, back to rack. Rack position, elbow down and thumb to chest. Overhead position, bicep by ear, bell over shoulder. Resist arching your spine in your overhead position. Think about a long tailbone, tilting the pelvis so that the lowest part of your abdominals contract. Get accustomed to the overhead and maybe pause at the top before switching sides. Your overhead position will be important today while we do our windmill and we do our snatch dismount. Alternate hand exchange swing. Swing and switch hands at the top. You're switching hands on the way up. Just like with juggling, the bell is close to the chest, around chin to forehead height. While it hovers, you switch your grip. Each time the bell down swings, it's close to the groin. The handlebar has to squeeze past your inner thighs. After your 10, bells come down. Go ahead and get some water, shake it out. We'll start moving forward with our juggling flow by confirming proficiency in needed skills. Using your heaviest weight first. This is your medium-sized bell. Move your lightweight out of the way. Sprinter clean. Right leg will be forward and left leg back. Your left hand will rack the bell as your left foot steps forward. Then you'll replace directly into your sprinter stance. We're just going to the rack position. 10 of them on each side. In position, and begin. All the same rules apply that we learned in the Sprinter Clean series. The bell starts behind your front heel. Your front leg is the primary driver. Your lats engage to maintain a flat back. Your inner thighs contract to keep you level, balanced, and moving in a forward line. Switch sides. Right leg back, right hand on bell. Exhale to rack. Exhale back down to the ground. The bell moves vertically up and down. Rack position, elbow hugs the rib cage and thumb to chest. Your glutes and hamstrings should be nice and warm after this. We move on to overhead rotation. This is the modified version of the windmill. You'll bend both knees and bring forearm to thigh. Rack it on the left side and face front. Press overhead and hold. Your right toes turn out to the right. Right hand slides down, bend both knees. Your shoulder rotates. Press the right elbow on the right thigh. Everything we covered in the windmill series is applied here. You're looking up the entire time you're doing your rotation. You want to see the bell that's overhead in your hands rather than looking anywhere else. Your obliques work hard to lower and lift you. After your 10, switch sides. Right hand overhead position. Left toes turn to the left. Left elbow presses on left thigh. Both knees bend. The overhead rotation builds stabilizer strength in your shoulder girdle. If you're having trouble with your medium-sized bell in the overhead rotation, then you will most definitely have trouble in the rest of this juggling advanced class. Bells come down, quarter swing. There's a part of juggling where we have to keep it close to the groin. Here, our pelvis takes a lot of strength if we keep the bell too far away, so we want to keep it closer to the groin. This is where we want to catch the weight, so we practice heavy quarter swings. For 1 minute, we'll do alternate hand exchange. You're in position, and go. 60 seconds. The quarter swing is low. We cover this in the long cycle series. We also cover it in the swing series. It doesn't get to chest height or above. It stays around belly button height. Can you find the hover? Change your hands to grip. Each time the bell comes down through the legs, your shoulders pin back behind you, your chest is open and broad, your belly braces and contracts, and the handlebar is really close to your groin so that your wrist is like up against your junk. This is our safety zone, the zone we want to catch when we juggle. If we're out of this zone, then you just want to drop the bell on the floor. Sprinter snatch. Let's move on with our light weight. So the heavy bell can just go away for the rest of the class. We're going to be using our lightest bell, our play bell, to learn this entire flow. Starting with the sprinter snatch, bring the bell to the middle and step your left leg back with your right foot forward. Your left leg will step forward into a lunge and you'll find your overhead position. You're going from the ground to the overhead, and you're going to need a lot of space, so make sure you have plenty of room. You're in position with the left leg back, left hand on bell, right knee bent. Left leg steps forward, lunge, straight into the overhead position for snatch. Lower back to rack and reset. Do 10 of them. This entire move is covered in the Sprinter Clean Advanced class. Be sure to take that class before moving on with this juggling class. Your right leg does all the work. The bell has to start way back behind your heel. Let's switch sides. 10, right hand on bell, right leg back. Right leg steps all the way forward, lunge to the overhead position. Each time you reset, the bell goes back behind your left heel. Full windmill. Using your light weight, bring it in between your feet to start. Your left hand will have the bell, right hand will slide down to your right ankle, so your right toes are turned out to the right side. Rack it in your left hand, press it overhead, and go. Shift the weight into the left foot, the hips go to the left, the right hand traces your inner thigh to find ankle, eyes look up. You're doing 10 of these here with your lightest weight. This should be relatively easy. Belly braces, obliques work to lower and lift you. This entire sequence is covered in the Windmill Intermediate and Advanced class. Switch sides after your 10 and do 10 on the other side. Side flip. We're moving on to our juggling sequence. Now that we've proficiently covered 2 of the hardest movements, let's work on our side flip where the handlebar is north and south. We kick with the heel of the hand and it rotates around. We'll do 10 and then 10 on the other side. The left hand kicks it to the left and it rotates around to the left, while the right hand kicks it to the right, it rotates around to the right. So start with just your hover in the vertical handlebar position, and then kick the handlebar over to the side, catching in the vertical position. Your goal is 10 sequentially. Remember, your safe zone of catching the bell is close. When you're ready, switch sides. Both arms are not created equally, so both arms are not going to do the exact same thing. Whoopsie. Okay, so my left arm isn't the greatest. This is my bad hand. Let's try again. Start with just the swing in the vertical position, then work the hover. And when you feel confident in the hover, kick the handlebar out. Nope, butterfingers. This one is my bad side, but that's okay. We're finding out which side is our dominant because we'll need to focus on our dominant side on the end of the class. So remember, this is again a play day. We're using our play weight and we're trying to keep it positive. So if you keep dropping it, just laugh it off. It's okay to make mistakes. Kettlebells doesn't have to be this big, serious, scary thing. Oh, it's so hard on that side. Okay, now we're going for the over flip. This is where a handlebar is east and west, horizontal, and we flip it with our thumb so that the handlebar rotates up and over. We'll do 10 on one side and then 10 on the other. So start with just your swing. Handlebar goes east and west horizontal. Try your hover where you pull your hand away, and then try the flip. You toss it forward with your thumb and catch in the safe zone. Your goal is 10 sequentially, and then when you're ready, you'll switch sides. So this side is definitely my dominant side. I feel very confident flipping here like this. Let's switch. 10 on this side, starting with just the hover, and then the flip. Because it's a forward flip, you have to resist pushing the bell too far away from you. If you do push the bell too far away, you have to resist overreaching to try to save it. Just let it fall on the floor. If you have to take extra swings in between, that's okay. All right, left side. Let's go ahead and take a water break. Juggling flow. We're going to take everything that we learned this entire 6-month period of all these classes, and we're going to combine all of our information and skill into this flow. So move your light bell out of the way. Let's begin in a sprinter stance. Your non-dominant hand will have the bell for the overhead lunge. You'll overhead squat and lateral dismount, swing laterally. Switch hands, add a little hover, and move into your overhead rotation or windmill. You'll stand up from the windmill, snatch, dismount, do a vertical handlebar, so a side flip, then a horizontal handlebar for an overflip. Then you'll switch hands, do one flip with your non-dominant hand, and then switch hands and rack it on your dominant side. So the majority of the flipping happens on your dominant side. So I'll explain it again. Part 1, your non-dominant hand will have the bell for the sprinter snatch, for the pivot, and the overhead squat. That's it. Step 2 is a lateral swing. You'll switch to your dominant hand into the overhead rotation. And part 3, you'll go from a half snatch down. You'll move into a side flip with the handlebar north and south, then a overflip with the handlebar east and west. You'll flip and switch hands, do a flip with your non-dominant, and catch in your dominant. So eyes on me. I'm going to try it real slow for you, starting with part 1. My non-dominant hand has the weight. I step forward into the overhead lunge. Then I pivot into the overhead squat. That's the end of step 1. Step 2. I lateral swing and switch hands to my dominant hand. Now I go into the overhead rotation. Step 3. Snatch, dismount. A east and west flip, so a side flip. Then a north and south flip, an overflip. Then I flip to the other hand, flip, and catch it in rack. I forgot to catch it in rack. And there we go. Okay, it's a lot, I know. We'll try it again real slow together. You'll have your non-dominant hand in your sprinter stance. Step 1, step forward into the overhead lunge. Pivot into the overhead squat. Stand up, lateral dismount, and now you switch hands, lateral swing to the overhead rotation. You're on your dominant side. Stand up, snatch, dismount for step 3. Snatch down, then a sideways flip, an over flip, flip to switch your hands, an over flip, and then, whoops. Okay, it's okay. If you do drop it during your flips, it's no big deal. I'm gonna start and just end here. Okay, So you're gonna pause the video, you're gonna watch this a couple times, and when you feel like you've got the hang of it, restart the video from here, and I'm gonna speed it up so you can see what it looks like in real time. So you're gonna watch me first. Here I am in Sprinter. Forward lunge, pivot overhead. Lateral swing, switch hands. Lateral swing to the overhead rotation. Stand up, down, swing. Sideways flip, over flip. Sideways flip to switch hands. Over flip, and then switch hands into rack. Okay. Your goal is to do this at least 2 times through on one side, your dominant side. So I'm gonna do it 2 more times with you. You can pause the video from here and rewind it and attempt it again. If you're ready, let's get started. Sprinter step forward, overhead. Pivot, overhead lunge. Lateral swing, switch hands. Lateral swing, overhead rotation. Snatch, dismount. Sideways flip, over flip. Sideways flip to switch hands. Over flip, non-dominant hand, and then switch into rack. Nice job. Let's start again. Sprinter stance. Forward step to the overhead snatch. Overhead lunge, pivot. Lateral, switch hands to dominant side. Lateral to the overhead rotation. Snatch, dismount. Side flip, over flip. Side flip to switch hands. Whoops. That's okay. Butterfingers. I'm gonna try it from there. Over flip. Side flip to switch hands. Dang it. Left side. You don't belong to me, do you? Okay. Let's try it again. Side flip. Over flip. Side flip to switch hands. Over flip. Nope. Wow. Whose hand are you? You don't belong to me, do you? I'm gonna fill in that hole and let's attempt again. I'm gonna start from the beginning. You can start with me from here. In position, forward step overhead. Pivot, lateral swing, switch hands, lateral swing, and overhead rotation. Snatch, dismount, sideways flip, over flip, sideways flip to switch hands, over flip. Now switch hands into rack. And done! If you completed this, congratulations. Shake it out, celebrate. If you didn't complete it, that's okay. Just pause the video, rewind it, do it a couple times more through. Let's come down to windshield wipe our knees. We've made it to our recovery. This recovery is very short because I have a specific juggling stretch class specific for this. So just windshield wipe your knees side to side. Your hands are behind your back, and you're just gonna let this part of your day go. Reverse tabletop, your fingertips point forward, lift the hips and lower. If you feel comfortable at the top, maybe your head rests back on your shoulders, you're pressing through the feet, activating the hamstrings, opening up the hip flexors, countering the shoulder rotation. Side stretch. Extend your right leg and bring your left heel to your groin. Right elbow to the right inner thigh, left hand to the sky, and stretch up and over, stretching out your obliques, whole side of the torso. Hamstring stretch on your inhale, come up. Turn your entire body to face your right leg and small pulses. Your right toes flex back. Figure 4. Place your left ankle over your right thigh, lift the chest, flex your feet, and try to close the gap between your shin and your chest while you're moving your knee away from you. Twist, drape your legs over to the right side, turn over your left shoulder, inhale to lengthen and exhale to turn. Inhale, get taller, and exhale, look further back. Release when you're ready. Come back to reverse tabletop. Do 3 or 4 again, pressing open the hips. Maybe your head rests back on your shoulders. And when you're ready, you'll take a seat for a side stretch. Your left leg extends, right heel to the groin, left elbow to the inner thigh, right hand to the sky, eyes look up and reach over towards your toes. On your inhale, come up, hamstring stretch. Turn towards your left leg, small pulses. When you're ready, figure 4. Place your right ankle on top of your left thigh. Flex your toes, lift the chest. Your hands are behind you like kickstands. Your goal is to get your right knee away while closing the gap between the shin and your chest. On your next exhale, spine twist. Drape your knees over to the left. Turn to the right with your shoulders. Inhale to lengthen and exhale to twist. Inhale, get taller. Exhale, twist. Ring it out. And when you're ready, release to a seated position. Celebrate your small successes today. Feel good about anything that you were able to accomplish. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next class. Make sure you like and subscribe.